Thanks for joining me. I want to talk a little bit about drop shipping. I mean, you are our expert in this. So wanted to sort of get your take on drop shipping and how it fits in to sort of the passive income world that is emerging these days, particularly in a pandemic universe that we live in, and everybody's looking for, income opportunities from home, all the unemployment that's happening, et cetera. So I guess the big first question I have is just explain to people what drop shipping is, because I, even at my age, I play around on the TikTok video app, and I see all these people that, these kids are 15, 16, 18, whatever years old, and they've all got drop shipping sites, but they're taking things from like Alibaba, like fidget spinners and things like that, and trying to make a gazillion dollars. And I know there's more to it than that. So explain drop shipping a little bit.
Sure. Thank you. It's a great question, especially to start off with, because probably a lot of people are not really familiar with this. And it literally is the oldest retail model that exists. And essentially a drop shipper like ourselves, we're middlemen. And what we do is we sign agreements with suppliers, and then we represent those suppliers, and we're one of many people that represent those suppliers, but we represent them on the internet, where there's, a lot of times a lot less competition than relative to brick and mortar stores. And when we get an order, we collect the money from the customer. We send a purchase order to the supplier, and we pay the supplier, and the supplier ships it directly to the customer. They send us the tracking number, we update the customer. Should there be a situation where there's a customer wants to return something, we facilitate the return. But now in 5 years and probably close to 8,000 orders, we've never once seen one of our products. So that's the model. Okay, we're really middlemen. Now, to your point about kind of how do you, what niche do we play in? We play in the high ticket niche, and I can tell you a little bit more about how I think the e-commerce world looks. But I generally like to have core products on our site that are $500 at a minimum, $400 or $500 at a minimum. And really the sweet spot is $1,000 to $5,000. And the simple reason, Jeff, is that, you earn high dollar margins. You don't have to work as hard. You don't need 1,000 orders at $5 an order to earn $500. I earned that, I earned $2,200 on an order the other day. So, that's one order.
Right.
And it was a first time visitor that, put their credit card onto our website on their first visit. So, that's what's going on in the online world right now.
And when you said a minute ago, it can often be less competition. And I wanted to clarify that a little bit, because I understand what you mean. And I don't know that everybody does, because they see the internet and they think less competition on the internet. There's a billion stores on the internet. There's more competition. But the reality is that you're in a drop shipping business with high-end stuff, and I know you are in farmhouse sinks and whatnot, and you might go up against a Walmart or a not Walmart, but a Lowe's or a Home Depot or whatever.
Right.
Those guys have 80,000 SKUs they're trying to sell. They're not going to tell you the specifics about the beauty of this one type of farmhouse sink. You have the capacity to do that, which is what gets into the competition question, I believe.
Yeah, so, one of the, kind of the key strategies that I always articulate to people is that if you can get in your car and drive an hour and see a really wide selection, that's a bad niche, okay? So, we're competing against, in farmhouse sinks, for example, against Home Depot. Home Depot is in aisle 3. And there's some gentleman that covers 5 aisles that has everything from aluminum ladders to buckets to, and there may be 3 farmhouse sinks there. Now we have 1,500 on our site, okay? So now 1,500 might be the same SKU with 4 or 5 different colors. It might come in 3 or 4 different materials. So it actually isn't us uploading that many products, but you can't you can't find the selection of things that we offer. Anyone who's watching this, you couldn't find it anywhere near an hour's drive to where you live. And that's the real benefit. We are authorities in fairly narrow niches. Now, the other thing I'll mention is that should you be shopping for something that maybe you've never purchased before, which is usually the case when you're looking at higher priced things, you have questions. And you're going to type your question into Google, and if we're any good at what we do, we've captured that question in some content that we've written for our site. You won't find any of the big brick and mortar guys that write content in this stuff. They just assume that you know what you want, you go in and buy it from them, and that's a huge advantage in these fairly narrow niches where that are highly sought after by American retail buyers, by buyers worldwide, to be honest.
All right. And the process of getting into drop shipping, how technologically savvy is this? I mean, is this something that the millennials are doing? That you need to be a millennial to do this, or hire a millennial to do it for you, or is it something that boomers and Xers can sort of easily morph into?
Well, let me disabuse anybody that I'm any kind of a tech guru. Okay, I mean, I had to convince myself, and I started this journey back in 2013, and in my day job, as you know, I'm a wealth manager, and I'm a wealth management, asset management, and private banking executive. I've done that for some of the largest financial institutions, and I've done it on 4 continents in my career. And I can tell you, I examined all of the different online business models because it was very important for me when I was thinking about my ultimate retirement, because I knew my corporate income would end long before my income requirement would end. I looked at all the different online business models, and the one that I think has the lowest tech barrier is drop shipping or physical goods e-commerce, basically because we leverage off of the Shopify ecosystem. And Shopify now has over 1 million merchants. And my wife is fond of saying, if you can buy an airline ticket online, you can run a Shopify store. It's that easy. And so, once I was able to get over that tech hurdle, then this became an opportunity. We wouldn't be talking today if that was an issue. And I'm still not tech savvy.
And when you say the tech hurdle, I mean, what you're trying to say is it's not really a hurdle. It's something that it's pretty easy to get past.
Yeah. If I were to go to a website, Jeff, I could right click and I could show you the code for any given page. I don't know a word of code, and no one well, I shouldn't say no one, but the vast majority of people that operate Shopify sites don't do any coding. You may have to insert a snippet of code for a specialized app that you're going to use. But we regularly hire somebody from Upwork because this is such a large ecosystem, over 1 million Shopify stores. And since it's built on a platform that's very well known, there's a global talent pool that's amazing that you can access. The other thing, and I started to mention this, think of Shopify a little bit like iPhone, okay? Shopify has apps for almost everything that you can think of. So you can just go to the Shopify app store like you go to the iPhone app store, and here's your email app. Here is your Google Feed app. Here, we installed one last night for fraud protection. We've got one for financing, higher priced goods. If you want a financing option, I mean, they're all apps. You just install them. Some of them can be a little trickier than others, but trust me, the support both through Shopify and from the apps it's amazing. So there's no coding or anything crazy like that. Otherwise, we wouldn't be talking, to be honest. So, yeah.
What does it cost to sort of get involved in this, to begin this process of say, hey, I want to be a high-end drop shipper?
Look, I think, I don't want people to think that it doesn't cost anything, but I know people that have done it on an absolute shoestring budget. but I would say $500 to $1,000 is plenty. Okay, so Shopify is $29 a month. You're going to buy a domain, which is going to cost you, $19 or $20 to buy that, and some renewal fee per year. Your monthly fees for G Suite, which is your Google Mail, is $10 or something like that. Probably, the two bigger fees that you will that you can that one you can elect to do, the other one you need to do, is you can elect to form an LLC, which I think makes you look more professional, depending on what state you live in or where you want to do that. That can be $100. And then states, the state that you live in, you're going to have to get what's known as a reseller certificate, because anyone who purchases from you in your home state, you're going to owe your home state taxman sales taxes. And so that might be something like, $80 or $100. Okay, but that's it. You're ultimately going to want to run paid traffic. And the good news is that the primary source that I espouse as the go-to paid traffic strategy, which is Google Shopping, which a lot of people are not familiar with, but I would tell everyone listening to this, put in a SKU number of your favorite thing, put it into the Google search bar, and then across the top there's a tab that says Shopping. Click on that tab, and there you open up a whole new world of things. Google Shopping is now free. And so all you need is a Google feed, and you can be in Google Shopping. But if you want to do fancier stuff, when you open a Google Ads account, they give you an instant $150 credit. So you kind of, you can learn on that first bit of money. And I will tell you, I was having a conversation in our VIP Facebook group night before last, and I know a number of people, and it's happened to me, that when we got one of our first suppliers uploaded it, hadn't even really launched the store. It was the store was open to do business. The shopping cart was working, which is part of Shopify. We got a sale before we ever ran ads. Strictly off of SEO, which you and I talked about earlier. So, it's really pretty amazing. But that happens. And if it doesn't happen, in the first couple of weeks, just wait, it'll happen.
And what kind of money can people expect to be making from this? Is this something they're going to be doing, say, part-time and live that sort of casual lifestyle with money flowing in? Is it something you've got to put in 8 hours a day? I mean, how does that flow?
No, not at all. I mean, there are kind of four major things that you have to solve for, and except for kind of having a relationship with your suppliers, which isn't something that you do every day, but you need to know who your suppliers are. They're your lifeblood. And except for looking over the financials, because we all have to look over our financials one way or another, the stuff related to customer service, the stuff related to the website, and the stuff related to dealing with the suppliers, the supplier interactions that the customer service people do, that's all that you can outsource all of that. This is a perfect business for someone that wants to only put in anywhere from a couple of hours a day to a half a dozen hours a week. Once you get it kind of up and running, it just isn't that much work. We run 9 high-ticket dropshipping stores now. As you know, I have a full-time job, and so I look at them. We wake up and America's still shopping, and so I look at the numbers from kind of the prior night. I look at the numbers. I may have a few things on my to-do list for the day, but that's all the time I spend on it, except for on the weekends. And my wife has got her team doing a whole variety of things. The way I look at it, and I'm 63. I want to stay engaged, so I probably do a lot more than a lot of people that I know, but I like it. So you can kind of choose the level of engagement that you have. I do believe that it's really worth it to put in the work up front and get it so that, it can really, your site can convert well. You understand kind of all of the underpinnings, put in the work up front, because then it kind of, almost runs on its own. We have sites now that are 5 years old that we do nothing with them, and the virtual assistants just process the orders. I was looking at spreadsheets this morning, and we do really very little. There's no even supplier relations. We know these people for 5 years. So it can be, I don't want to say passive. I would say, it's about as passive as you can get today. I also, manage some money for my family. We have, investments in public markets and things like that. There isn't anything passive that I can think of. I don't know about you. Maybe, I was thinking about this the other day, but all of those things that we thought were passive, they kind of all goes out the window when you have a pandemic and the market goes crazy and stuff like that. So, but I think that this is, relative to, the other online business models, it's incredibly low tech, and it's almost as passive as you can get. The trade-off, Jeff, to be honest with you, is that this is something that you can build and ultimately sell. It's, we're using US-based suppliers that are branded suppliers. They may not be brands that you know of every day. We sell bathroom vanities, and I can name 36 brands of bathroom vanities that most people wouldn't recognize, okay? But if you go shopping for bathroom vanities, you'll find those. So, we sell branded things, and our margins are 10 to 15% at the end of the day. Now, if we were to go to China and source things that were lower price and catch a fad, as you mentioned, you probably could make a lot more money. This happened in March and April. People that do that, they had, money in, that invested in inventory in China. They had money invested in inventory on the boat from China. They had money invested in their warehouses. A lot of these people had made a lot of money and bought the warehouses and had rented space to other people doing the same thing. And Amazon wasn't prioritizing anything other than things that were, kind of a necessity. And so, they had no revenues. So we don't capture that huge upside, but at this point in my life, I like that risk reward trade-off.
And let me ask you a quick question. You mentioned my wife's team. I mean, that kind of
Yes.
scares people. I think I have to have a team. I mean, but you have a bunch of sites that you're all trying to manage everything together. So
sure.
Do you really need a team?
No. So let me give you a fantastic example. One of my coaching clients I was talking to last Saturday, we're doing a catch up, and he's now 3 months having purchased his first site. And I asked him, kind of what, after the first 3 months, are the biggest revelations to you? And these were the three that he gave me in order. He said, first, I cannot believe how much I can leverage my time by having a virtual assistant, especially one. When he bought the store, there was a girl in the Philippines that came with the store. She's essentially teaching him the business. Now, you can get great help in the Philippines for customer service, at $3 to $5 an hour. So it is not expensive. And he literally made a comment to me. He said, I need to figure out how to hire more people to get more leverage on my time. And so that was it. Number two, he said, he has taken it upon himself when someone comes to his store and they don't complete checkout. They do what's known, they abandon their cart, as we say in the business, right? He'll pick up the phone and call somebody or send them an email. He says, the number of people that respond to me saying, thank you so much for noticing, he said the bar is so low for internet retailers with regards to customer service. And I had actually told him this. I said, people don't think that there's anybody behind the website, and there's a bunch of us, and he was just shocked at, how the great response that he got from just doing simple follow-up stuff that you and I would like, we would feel, kind of lazy or remiss if we didn't do it. And then the third thing is, as he has called suppliers, the relationships that he's developed. He's gotten on first name basis. They open up and they talk to him. He said, look, I'm not going to do this, every day or every week, but he said, to start the relationship and have a good conversation. And he said, and I know that my customer service virtual assistant is going to send purchase orders to the order processor, not the person I'm talking to, but I have that relationship. And it doesn't take much. Once you establish that relationship, they know you and you know them. So those were the three things that he thought were biggest eye openers. And he closed at the end of March. And I guess so it's almost been 3.5 months now.
And is he profitable for 3.5 months? Is he doing well?
Yeah. So he bought a store that has revenues, and what's really I think differentiated. He had some jiggles. The pandemic has not been, it's been difficult to navigate. The supply chains around the globe are all messed up. We've been out of, with 9 stores, we've been out of inventory from, kind of March-ish through, the summer here. And it first started with goods made in China, then it rolled to Western Asia and the Middle East and then Western Europe. And it's nowhere near back to being kind of smooth functioning. All of our suppliers are working with their warehouse teams in the warehouse, but their office staff at home. And so there's a discontinuity. And I love Amazon because we benefit from everyone being trained by Amazon to shop online. But Amazon has everybody accustomed to really super fast delivery and free shipping and fast delivery. And I can tell you, getting kind of the normal back and forth that you have with suppliers and getting things shipped, as quickly as we normally ship them is taking a lot more time. It's tough to get updates from suppliers. And he started calling his suppliers in March and April. And only in June, I think after several messages, did he start to really get traction talking to people. He's actually landed 8 or 9 new suppliers in June and July. So it does work, but it's taking a longer period of time. Having said that, I heard someone on a podcast say the other day that 10 or 12 years of adoption of e-commerce has been compressed into 10 or 12 months. So, what we thought the normal adoption of e-commerce would be from kind of the market share right now, e-commerce is kind of 15 to 16% of retail sales. Online is, that's going to be a much higher number, in 2021 than it would have normally been. And I think we all understand that. So.
Right. Wrap up, Ian, by asking the question I know a lot of people kind of want to know: what are the 3 or 4 or 5 things that somebody needs to understand if they're interested in starting this, becoming a successful drop shipper? Where do you start?
Sure. I can say this, Jeff, because, I have the bruises to prove, that we've done things wrong and we've made mistakes. And if there's one thing I hope I can help people do is, get, past these things without making the mistakes we made and kind of shorten the time to become successful. Whether you are going to build or buy a website, and websites are sold by website brokers. And so, you can get on mailing lists and you can see, kind of successful websites and, what they're doing that makes them successful. But you have to understand why a website is a high ticket drop shipping store is built the way it's built. And so you need to understand the fundamentals of building, and you can learn a lot of that from looking at successful sites, but there is some science there. And I can say that because we did try a lower ticket strategy to be at the beginning, and quite frankly, just was, didn't really work, not nearly like this. So that's one thing. I also have compiled now, kind of from my own experience, 10, 11, 12 different, what I call niche disqualifiers. Stay away from niches that have these characteristics, okay? So, you don't want a niche that has like the brand affinity of like an iPhone, the brands that we deal with, the niches we deal with have lots of brands. They're not nearly as well known. It doesn't have that passion. And that way, I have 10 or 11 or 12 of those now that I, I can literally look at, kind of a niche and say, well, it won't work for this reason. Whereas someone else might, take a long time and look at it. So I think that, kind of, a lot like physical real estate, understand, kind of why something is built the way it's built, what's going to work. And then, because we are price takers, we're told what our cost is. And in the United States, there's something known as minimum advertised price, which levels the playing field. No one can undercut that. We have a set margin. It becomes, kind of very much a game of marketing. And so, you want to, make sure that you have great supplier relations. You have, kind of, all of the daily activities with processes around them, which doesn't take long, and, to kind of figure out. And then, it becomes a marketing game. And, right now, as I mentioned, the bar is so low relative to, customer service, providing helpful content, any number of different things, that it's an amazing opportunity. Will this be the case in 5 years when e-commerce is not 15 or 16%, it's twice this? I don't know, Jeff, but I can tell you that, I call this the opportunity of a lifetime. And so I really believe that's the case.
All right. Well, I appreciate your time today, Ian. Thanks a lot.
Sure. Jeff, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to talk.
Yeah. Thanks.
Thanks.